This meeting of the Fox River Valley Public Library District Board of Trustees will be held without a quorum of trustees physically present, but is authorized by the Governor of Illinois pursuant to COVID-19 Executive Order Number 5, dated March 16th, 2020, and subsequent reissues, as well as the Governor's Emergency Administrative Act dated June 12th, 2020. As board president, I have determined an in-person meeting is not prudent at this time due to the coronavirus pandemic that the governor has declared an emergency. Let the record show that the director is present at the library. A verbatim recording of this meeting will be made available to the public. A verbatim recording of this meeting will be made available to the public. Due to the current public health concerns and extension of the governor's stay-at-home mandate by Executive 2020-33 and subsequent reissues, this meeting is being conducted electronically. Anyone wishing to observe and or comment must email libraryboard@foxrivervalleypubliclibrarydistrict.info no later than 12 p.m. on Tuesday, June 15th, and will receive online access to the meeting. If you do not have electronic access and would like to make a public statement, you can call the library at 847-428-3661 before 5 p.m. on Tuesday, June 15th, and leave a message indicating that you would like your message to be read into the record during the public comment section of the meeting. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. A recording of this meeting will be available on the library's website by Friday, June 25th. Okay, with that, I would like to call to order the Fox River Valley Public Library District Board of Trustees meeting, June 15th, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. May we have our flag, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, everyone, please repeat after me the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Got my stuff together here. Okay, the first order of business tonight is to fill the vacancy that we've had on our board.
Richard, do you want to take a roll call first?
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to have a roll call. Thank you.
Yep.
Chris, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Matt?
Here.
Marianne?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
Chris here. Christina? Richard?
Here. Okay, thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow.
Yep.
Now, we get to the first order of business, which is filling the trustee vacancy. As you know, we've been looking for a district resident to fill the open seat on our board for some time now. The library advertised for interested residents to submit a letter of interest for the position. We received 2 such inquiries. I interviewed each person, along with Roxanne, who acted as a resource to answer any specific library operation questions and that the candidates may have had. As a result of these interviews, I am excited to recommend board approval for the appointment of Westie resident Tara Finn. But before I explain my reasons for this nomination, I would like to get a motion to appoint on the floor. Accordingly, I would like a motion to approve Resolution 2021-06 to appoint Tara Finn as library trustee effective June 15th, 2021. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Is that
Dave?
Dave? Second, please.
Second,
Who was
Is
the
that
second?
Mary Ann?
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, okay. Okay, thank you for the motion and the second. Let me tell you a little bit about Tara. She lives in West ND, a 20-year resident of the district. She's a local small business owner. She has a bachelor's degree in elementary education and a bachelor's degree in dance education. She and her family are frequent library users and program attendees. She served on the PTC board at Dundee Highlands Elementary School for 4 years, as well as other volunteer positions in the community. She's also a frequent classroom volunteer. Also, because of her service on the board, she's familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, which, as you know, is the framework we use for our meetings. And probably as important as anything else, she's very enthusiastic about joining the board and serving our library community. In Tara's letter of interest, she said, and I quote, "I love the Fox River Valley Library and want it to serve the community in the best, most reasonable ways it can." And I think that is as good a description of what the mission of this board is that I've ever seen. I think it hits the nail right on the head. So I highly recommend that the board confirm Tara's appointment as trustee until such time as the next general regular library election, which is scheduled for April of 2023. Okay, with that said, Tara, is there anything you would like to say to the board before we vote?
Just that I'm excited to work with everybody and learn a little bit more about the library and help out the community with all the different ways that the library serves the community.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments or questions from any of the board members before we vote?
Just the spelling of Tara's name?
T-A-R-A, and my last name is Finn, F as in Frank, I-N-N.
Okay, good. Just like it sounds.
Yep, very short.
Great. Good to have you aboard.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, Chris, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Matt,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Chris, yes, Christina, Richard.
Yes. Okay, the motion has passed, the resolution is adopted, and the appointment is confirmed. Now it's time for the oath of office. Chris, would you administer the oath to Tara, please?
Yes. Tara, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? And I'm going to give you little phrases of the oath. And I'm going to start with I, and then once I say I, please fill in your name, and then I'll give you the rest of the little phrases. All right?
Okay.
Okay. So I
Tara Finn,
solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
of library trustee
of library trustee
according to the very best of my ability.
according to the very best of my ability.
Congratulations, Tara. Thank you for doing this and welcome to our board.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. And let me add my congratulations, Tara. I think you're a very good addition to our board. We're honored to have you with us. Okay, moving on to the public comment section. The board recognizes its responsibility to provide an opportunity for anyone wishing to comment at any meeting to do so. Due to the current public health concerns, the June 15th, 2021 meeting will be conducted electronically. Any person viewing the meeting online and or wishing to comment will be accommodated in accordance with the public notice detailed above. And citizens will not be requested to sign in to comment. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. Is there anyone on electronically with us tonight that would like to make a comment? I hear none. Roxanne, has anyone left any phone messages that they would like read into the record? No on that point. So I guess we'll move on to, is there any telephone messages or any other written correspondence? Okay. No. Then we'll move on to the president's report. Okay. Now that we have Tara on as a board member, given her background and experience, I would like to appoint her as community engagement liaison. This includes working with staff to identify community needs and wants, promoting the library services within the community, and to identify appropriate community partners, et cetera, et cetera. I discussed this with Tara, and are you willing to take on that assignment, Tara?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now all the our seats are filled, the liaisons are set, we're ready to go. So let's get on with it. This month coming up, we have a requirement for review of secretary records. Now, this is a requirement of the Illinois Public Library Annual Report, better known as IPLAR. The review involves 2 trustees that jointly review the secretary's records to assure that all official records, such as meeting minutes, resolutions, ordinances, are complete and on file. The 2 trustees I would like to handle this task are Marianne and Matt, if you would please. It may sound like an onerous task, but it is very simple. Karen does a great job of keeping all the files. It's just a matter of the 2 trustees and Karen finding a time to get together to go through the file and to point out that all the resolutions we've passed are in the file, ordinances, minutes of meetings, those kinds of things. You'll see how the records are kept, where they're filed, how they can be accessed, and it's a good learning experience, as well as a good verification that all is in order. So Marianne and Matt, are you willing to take that on?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. So it's just a matter of working out a convenient time, and then we'll look for a short report next month of how that went. Okay. Also, if you remember last month, we had a short discussion about the consent agenda and what items should be included going forward. Dave, as our treasurer, indicated that he would work with the staff and formulate a recommendation for the board. So Dave, do you have anything to report on this matter?
Just, Roger, that the one report that we talked about is the MonFin, the monthly financial report that has lots of detail and many pages. And Roxanne and Heather and I talked about it and considered the possibility of either eliminating that or just presenting that on a quarterly basis. For now, we're not. There are some things in there that are, interesting, and we do have a number of new board members. I think it's worthwhile to leave that in, just recognizing that board members shouldn't feel bad if you kind of scan through that part. There are a lot of pages of financial reports. I have some background in finance, and I sometimes glaze over that myself. So I guess don't feel bad, but for now, I think we should just leave it alone and consider, maybe slimming that down in the future after our newer board members have had a chance to look at it.
Okay, so your recommendation is to just leave the consent agenda with the items we normally see?
Yes.
Okay. Well done. We'll go on that basis.
Richard?
Yes.
I would like to report that Christina has joined us at 7:19.
Hi, Christina.
I think she's there. She's muted.
Hey, sorry. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Nice to have you with us. Now, did you see any of the prior of the meeting at all?
No.
Okay, we had the, just by way of background, we appointed a new library trustee, Tara Finn. The vote was 6 in favor. So Tara joins us, and she's also going to become the community engagement liaison.
Great.
So we offered our congratulations, and we're ready to go.
Welcome, Tara.
Yeah, Richard, I think it was 5 in favor because you only had
5,
Tara.
right, I'm sorry, 5. Now it would be 6.
That was,
That would be 6.
She couldn't vote yet.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
was trying to
Christina.
shuffle papers and find that, so.
Okay, it's timely that you joined us. When you did, Christina, I was just about to call on you to give us an update on our director search.
Oh, yeah. Again, I apologize wholeheartedly. So we are scheduled to meet on Thursday at 10 a.m. We will go into much greater detail about the process and everything that will happen over the 3 days on Thursday. Just know that on Thursday at 10 a.m. we will get together to do that, to go over the process. And then we will have our first interview at 11 and 2 interviews each day with the discussion about them on Saturday. We will wear business casual attire for this, hopefully. So just something to keep in mind for Thursday. And if anyone has any questions before then, I can try to answer anything that you might have. You know, like I said, specifics we'll get into on Thursday. But.
Okay, does anyone have any general questions about the upcoming interview process or the interviews? Like Like Christina
Just a-
said, everything will be dealt with at our pre-meeting.
So just a question about the Open Meetings Act. I know Saturday's meeting is executive session, but the interviews will be 6 or 7 of us together, and that's not considered a meeting then?
Yes.
Or how does that work?
Yeah, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll go into an executive session.
Oh, those are, okay.
So all the
good.
interviews will be conducted in executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, well, again, Christina and Chris, thank you, and Roxanne as well. Thank you for all the hours of work you've put into this thing. You guys done a yeoman's effort, and we appreciate everything you've done for us to lead us in the direction of a new director.
You're welcome, and you know, also sharing thanks with Heather, with Karen, with Sherry, Kenny, and Kirsten. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, especially lately pulling together the last details and things. You know, we've needed a little bit more help. So
Yeah, I have to say, when we decided not to go with like a headhunting firm, I thought this was going to take like a lot more months and probably not come up with as good a candidates as what we're faced with. So yeah, thank you very much for all of you that have put this together. It's very professional and you know, and really good results too, I think so.
It's been an amazing experience, and I have to say, I've said this to Roxanne. I think she's probably tired of hearing me say it, but we are so fortunate that we had Roxanne as our interim, because she brought so much experience to the table. And although Christina and I worked, Roxanne really directed us in the right way and has just brought so much experience to the table. And I've just learned a tremendous amount from her. So a very special thank you to Roxanne and to her, everybody she mentioned in the staff. They've just done an incredible job to pull things together.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the recognition. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we've always thought of ourselves as a good working team, and I think this kind of a project shows just what a good team working together can accomplish.
Yeah, I've been really impressed, you know, with what Christina and Chris brought to the table too, breaking the task down and assigning. Everybody's done their part, which
Well,
has been
wonderful. Okay, that's all I have on the president's report. Can we move on now to the director's report?
Sure. We will, you know, first, before we get into presentations, actually, let me just ask if you have any, if anyone has any particular comments or questions on either the written director's report or the department reports or the dashboard.
I just have a couple of things to say. First of all, your city, your home is fantastic. And second of all, Carrie Carroll, I am so excited that you're taking ALS, and maybe you and I can practice together, because I used to be pretty fluent and I've lost it all. So I would love to practice with you if you ever want someone to practice with.
I will definitely take you up on that, Chris. Thank you.
All right, great. Any other comments? If not,
I thought that, and I mentioned it before the meeting, that John Sabella's QR code link into the surveys, I think is pretty slick. It a nice way to make it easy for patrons to take the survey and to get more feedback, which will help us going forward. I think he's made it super easy, and well done, John.
Great, great. Okay, so let's jump right in to Heather's presentation. She thrilled us all last month with the review of the monthly financial or the consent items on the consent agenda, and made it so easy. And so I've asked her to do the same thing for the movement that, or the transferring funds to special reserve. And take it away, Heather.
Okay, so I'm hoping this goes well in terms of viewing it in Teams. I practiced it before and it worked fine yesterday, and I had trouble earlier today, so we'll see. Click on it. So do you see just the slides, or do you see my comments too?
Just the slides.
Sweet. Okay, that's how we want it. Okay, so I will go through. Good evening. It is my pleasure to present on the exciting topic of library finance. Tonight, the board will be voting to transfer money from our general fund into our special reserve fund. Since we have several new members, we thought it would be a good time to go over what the capital projects / special reserve fund is used for, how it is different from the general / corporate fund, and why we transfer money into it on an annual basis. Okay, do you see a new slide now?
Yes.
Yeah. As you may recall from my working budget presentation, we separated the budget into two categories, the general fund and the capital projects. It is important to note that the capital projects fund and the special reserve fund are the same thing. Different names, same deal. We use the special reserve funds on capital projects, including any major renovations or building purchases. The reserve fund is basically a savings account. Reserve money is used to fund major single occurrence projects at the library, and board approval is required to access the funds. No money is levied into the special reserve fund. Surplus budgeted funds are moved into the account on an annual basis in order to build the fund toward future FRB PLD, building, land, and maintenance needs. Board policy also sets aside money in the special reserve fund for our capital improvements program, which is setting aside money for major building infrastructure purchases. The general fund more loosely resembles a checking account. It's the fund we use to run daily operations of the library. We budget for the revenues and expenditures in the general fund, but it doesn't include money for unexpected building emergencies or major renovations. While we want to make sure there's enough money in the general fund to keep the library running smoothly, the library should also not keep excessive money in the general fund. The fund policy states the general fund should represent no less than 3 months and no more than 12 months of operating expenses. Any money that is over that amount at the end of each fiscal year is considered surplus and transferred into the special reserve. With the exhibit that the board is voting on today, we are planning to carry over about 9 months of operating expenses in the general fund. We will begin receiving levy payments in the new fiscal year. So all of the new fiscal year will be fully funded. This just represents the amount that we are carrying over from our current fiscal year into the new fiscal year. So why do libraries transfer money into the special reserve fund? First, because it helps us save for larger projects that may exceed the normal amount we levy into each year. It provides an extra level of control because the money in the special reserve fund can only be spent on specific things, most of which are building related. Lastly, it helps us avoid an excess of accumulation. It's hard for us to justify receiving taxpayer funds from the levy when we have more than a year's worth of operational expenses already in our bank account. Instead, by keeping spending reasonable, we are able to transfer surplus funds to save for bigger projects. Transferring money to special reserves is addressed by our library's fiscal policies and bylaws. The library's capital asset policy also affects the special reserve fund because we use money from the special reserve fund to save for our capital improvements program. Okay, so that was a lot of information in about 4 minutes. Does anyone have any questions on the special reserve fund?
So Heather, go ahead. Who started to make a comment?
Yeah, can you go back to the last slide again, please?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this, yeah, once again, special reserves and capital asset reserves, and it's all pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, we have many names for the same thing.
Yes. Okay. Good. That keeps it confusing.
Yeah,
So, Heather-
the legal name for the fund is the Special Reserve Fund.
Right.
We call it the capital projects fund because that kind of otherwise it's hard to know what special reserves means.
Yeah. Good.
So Heather, and once money is put into the special reserve fund, can it be reallocated at some later point?
No.
So once it's there, it's there.
Yeah.
For that purpose only.
Yeah, that's
Capital
an excellent
improvements.
question. Yes.
And
Okay. Important everybody understands that.
Is
Now-
there a
go ahead, man.
is there a maximum accumulation amount that can occur in that fund?
I don't think so.
Well, there isn't a maximum by law, but the library is required to have a plan that states how much what their target is. So in our case, we have been planning for a new building. So the last update, I haven't looked at the most recent update that happened after I retired. I need to take a look at that. But the last one that we did that I recall, it was equal to the cost of building a West Side library and renovating Dundee.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So a lot more than what we have in that fund.
Way more.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. It'd be nice if we could self-finance that project or those projects, but those are pretty much out of sight for us.
It would be wonderful. It would be wonderful if we could. Unfortunately, we're the rate at which we are able to save in that fund is the cost of new construction keeps going up at about that rate. So we're not actually moving forward. And we find ourselves every 10 years or so, a library building really needs an interior renovation. Furniture, within 10 years, your furniture is wearing out, your carpet needs to be replaced, et cetera. So, and major systems start going, HVAC units, roof in 20 years, et cetera. So we find ourselves, that capital improvements program, that is the schedule that has all of those pieces and components and is aging them. And so part of our budgeting process puts aside an incremental amount to each year to fund those things that we know are deteriorating and are going to need to be replaced.
Any other questions?
Okay.
No, thanks, Heather.
All right. Then the last thing I wanted to do was end with a summer reading challenge presentation by Monica Boyer. And this wasn't on your agenda, but given that we have several new trustees and our summer reading challenge is just kicking off, this is a perfect time for Monica to catch us up on what that entails. So Heather, we're still seeing your slides.
I'm struggling to figure out how to stop sharing it.
Okay.
I can talk while
Okay.
Heather.
There you go.
Yes. So this year, the Summer Reading Challenge theme is Reading Colors Your World. The challenge began June 1st, and we're using a hybrid model. So the program is in person and online. Since last year, we purchased a 2-year contract with the software called Beanstack. We will be using that same online platform again, or are using that platform again this year, but patrons have the option to register themselves and their families through the app. Patrons can also physically visit us and register at any public desk at either location. And a paper log is available to track their progress. Yeah, it did stop, Heather. So like previous years, there are 4 age categories. There's pre-reader, youth, teen, and adult. Pre-readers and youth must read a total of 14 hours to claim their prize. Teens and adults must read a total of 20 hours. Prizes this year include a free book. And since activity badges were popular in previous years, we brought them back again as an optional enhancement to the reading requirements. Patrons can choose to complete a variety of fun activities for the chance to win raffle prizes. The Summer Reading Challenge is going to end on July 31st.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Monica. So I urge you all to sign up if you aren't already.
I just want to tell you, Monica, that when we were marching in the parade, I had 2 adults at 2 different places run up to me and say, is it just for kids or can adults join? So there were at least 2 adults who were really excited during the parade.
That's great news. Yeah, well, I know the ATS team has really done a lot to, make it interactive and fun, and it could be a family-wide program and not just centered on youth.
Good job.
Very good.
Yeah, and we'll have towards the end of the summer, once the summer reading challenge finishes, we'll be back to you with some updates and statistics about how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Monica, since we have you, congratulations on being elected to the Bartlett Library Board Trustees. That should give you a little different perspective on the running of a library, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, 360. So it's a different perspective that I'm very lucky to have. Yeah, it's a big learning experience.
Yeah, good.
Good, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
It's always nice to have librarians on your board.
Sure.
Yeah, really.
Looking at a couple right now, Christina and Chris. So, all right, that's all I have, Richard, unless there are any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Roxanne? Okay, thank you very much, Roxanne, and Monica and Heather. Okay, moving on to tonight's business, the consent agenda. Before I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda, are there any items any trustee would like left off for further consideration? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items A1A through A1J. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved. Oh.
Dave,
Dave,
Second, please.
second. Who was that, please?
Christina.
Thank you, Christina.
Okay, we do not have discussion of agenda, consent agenda items. So Chris, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Matt,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
Tara. Is it Tara or Tara?
Tara,
Tara.
and yes.
Dave,
yes.
Chris, yes. Christina
Yes.
and Richard.
Yes.
6 ayes.
Okay, motion carries. Unfinished business. The
Chris,
working
who
budget.
are you missing? With
Yeah,
6.
should've missed that.
Oh, you're right, 7. I can't count.
Okay. All right, sorry.
That was my fault, sorry. I'll learn to count before the next one.
Okay, you got a deal. Okay, working budget for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. May I have a motion to approve the working budget for the fiscal year 2021, 2022? Have such a motion.
So
Anyone?
moved.
Dave? Second, please.
Second, Marianne.
Marianne seconded. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. As you know, last month we had a presentation. Heather did a wonderful job of presenting the working budget and explaining general terms what went into each category. Tonight, our job is to approve that working budget. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Roxanne and Heather for any additional explanation or any explanation of changes that have been made since last we met. Catch us all up to speed on this.
Sure. Heather, you want to review the changes that you've detailed on the cover sheet?
Yes. So with the original budget, we had missed budgeting for one job thing, so I can't talk now. We missed budgeting for one position. And so that's been updated to include that. And then we also got a quote for major repairs on our elevator. So that's been updated to include that too.
And I'll add with the elevator, we have been having off and on issues with the elevator not working, going out of order, and Michael's had to call we do have a maintenance contract on it. And Michael's had to call for them to come out a number of times. One of the problems is that the control board is really old, and there are some other components that have been problematic. The hydraulic, we did have the hydraulics repaired on it. I want to say maybe 8 years ago, something like that. And it's limping along, but we wanted to make sure that we had a good scope of what it would cost to bring it up to current. It is not to code. It's been grandfathered in because it's probably close to 30 years old. It's been grandfathered in on a number of things. So I asked Michael to get a quote from the company that we have doing the maintenance on it for what it would take to bring it up to code and still use the parts of it that we could use. And that estimate was about $160,000. I have to say that surprised us because we did have a lower estimate. We had received a lower estimate probably 5 years ago. But we wanted to be sure. We didn't really have time to dig into that and see, is this really reasonable? What does this entail? You know, one of the things that the library has looked at in the past with some of the Dundee library renovation proposals involved moving the door and looking at potentially relocating the elevator to a different place than it is now. I don't know how much more that would be. That's something that the library is going to want to, you know, to consider this year before, you know, before we actually put a lot of money into it. But we wanted to be sure in the working budget that we set aside some money that would be sufficient to bring it up to code if it was determined during the fiscal year that that was the best course of action. So we haven't gone through this with our facilities liaison, Matt, yet, but we'll be digging into that with him as we get into the new fiscal year.
I would like to add a comment that I've been on the board for 10 years. And the elevator has been an issue, a maintenance issue for every one of those 10 years.
Yeah. There's always something.
Yeah, and it's always been, well, if we did this, it'll last another few years. If we did that, we can coast for a while. And so I think we've dodged the bullet enough times. I think it's time to hit the target where it needs to be hit, right in the bullseye, and fix it right. So I understand it's a big number, but you know, we've got 2 floors, we've got to have a working elevator, so let's do it the right way. And
so that figure, that's $775,000. How much of that do we think might be elevator repair, or?
In which where are you?
I'm looking at Exhibit B1, Statement of Capital Revenues and Expenditures, proposed 21-22 capital budget maintenance.
It's $160,000 is for the elevator.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So, and then the there's, I mean, outdoor sign, replacing carpeting, shelving, sidewalk. Those are things that we have talked about, I know, in past meetings. So it's not like, and I have heard of problems with the elevator in the past. How about the roof? Is that? It hasn't rained in quite a while, so it hasn't been a problem, I know.
Exactly. I mean, we're not even to the point at this point where we can proceed with the the investigation, because that's dependent on some rain. So at this point we're in a wait and watch, and that's another thing that we'll bring Matt up to speed on when he's able to come. When we're able to do our walkthrough.
Okay.
And what we're not doing is we're not trying to budget for replacing the roof this year.
For what? I'm sorry.
We're not budgeting. We did not include in the budget money to replace the roof this year.
Okay. Yeah.
That's more of an investigation thing at this point, and is going to need to be part of a larger renovation project. One that would more likely be budgeted for in the following fiscal year, 2022-23.
Okay.
And going through that with your new director, et cetera. If we end up in an emergency situation, the board can always opt to declare an emergency and spend money out of the capital reserve, or special reserve.
Yeah, if I might add a comment, the roof is another item that has been the subject of the board for at least 10 years. It's an issue.
Yeah.
So, it's a 40 plus year old building, so it's just showing its age.
Yeah, well, the roof was completely replaced in 2012, so it shouldn't be a problem, but it has been an off and on problem.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Was leaking or what?
Yes, leaking issues, and it's not the membrane that's the problem. Where the biggest problem is we can't figure out what the problem is.
Oh.
Where it's coming from. We've pulled in experts to look at it. The roofing company, comes out and does investigations, and trying to figure out where the water comes in compared to where it ends up coming out inside the building has been a real interesting adventure. And anyone who would like more detail on that, feel free to make an appointment with me. I'd be glad to show you. I've been up in the rafters.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Yeah.
Roxanne, I will schedule an appointment with you, but
Yeah.
Have they done flood tests?
They have multiple times.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, you've got your hands full with those two projects, guaranteed.
I'm looking forward to it.
There you go.
Good.
So that's all we really have on the budget, unless there are additional questions or clarifications you need.
Any questions for Roxanne or Heather on the working budget before we vote? Okay, hearing none. Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Matt,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Chris, yes. Christina,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
We have 7 ayes this time.
7, good. All right.
Good thing we didn't have 8.
Okay, now moving on to new business. Exhibit C2, Ordinance 2021-07, transferring funds to the Special Reserve Fund. May I have a motion to approve Ordinance 2021-07?
Anybody?
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion?
Marianne.
Marianne, okay, and Dave seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, we heard the explanation from Heather on the transfer of funds. Heather or Roxanne, could you just go over where the 750,000, how that amount was arrived at?
Well, Heather looked at the amount that we're expecting to end the year with, figuring that we're partway through the month of June. So we have a pretty good idea. And then looked at our policy and decided we should keep about 9 months in the special reserve fund, and it's a basic math calculation that we have the 750,000 remaining that we don't need to continue in the special reserve fund. One of the reasons that it's at that level this year is that last year there were no funds transferred. Normally we transfer every year, so had we done that, you know, you might have, you likely would have had a much smaller number this year. But with, you were on the cusp of, really at the beginning of COVID last year and had no idea what was going to be needed in terms of additional operating money. And at that point, we didn't know, the library did not know that we would be eligible to receive the grant money that helped to offset purchase of PPE and some of those special expenses that we incurred. So it was prudent at that time to not make a transfer. So this year we're transferring in addition to our normal transfer. Does that help?
I think it does, and I can echo that. I remember when the pandemic hit, we were beginning this discussion of transferring these funds, and it was decided we're not going to do anything until we see just how extensive this virus became and how much money we would have to spend, not knowing that there would be these relief packages, and then even at that we didn't know if we'd be able to share in them.
Right.
So. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. I'm glad you brought that up. That kind of puts things in perspective a bit. Does anyone have any questions on this before we vote? Okay, hearing none. Chris, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Matt?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Chris, yes. Christina?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
7 ayes.
Okay, very good. Motion passes. Looking at item C3, ordinance 2021-08, board meeting dates for fiscal year 21-22. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-08?
So moved.
Dave, second, please.
Second, Matt, Christine.
Matt.
Thank you.
Matt, okay.
Matt?
Okay, this is an ordinance that we pass every year that shows for the record the dates of our meetings. A couple of things I'd like to point out. If you look at that, at the ordinance itself, it shows our next meeting is going to be August 3rd. It typically, we would have a meeting in late July, but dates just didn't work out this year, so we moved it to the first Tuesday of August. So there will be no meeting in July. Our meeting will be early in August, and then we will not have another meeting until September. Unless, of course, something comes up and we have to call a special meeting. Additionally, when we can, we do not meet in the month of December. We always put the date there as a place setter in case we need to meet for some reason, but if business is usually such that we can skip the December meeting and give ourselves a Christmas present. So, but you see that there is a December meeting listed there as well as the others. So it's just a calendar so that the public knows when we're meeting, so that, again, an effort to be transparent.
Okay, so there is an August 3rd meeting? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? There is,
Yes,
okay.
there will be a meeting on August 3rd, nothing in July.
Okay.
Nope. We have some important business to conduct on that August 3rd meeting, right, Richard?
Yes.
Roxanne?
Yes, what happens at that August 3rd meeting is the board must pass the tentative B&A, tentative budget and appropriation. So the working budget that you just passed is our operational budget that we use in the library. Our legal budget that we're required to pass by the state is called the budget and appropriation. And that gets passed in September. It has to be passed by the end of the first quarter of the fiscal year. So that would be the end of September. And the dates are on, if you go back a month to the budget and levy calendar that you passed at a previous meeting, it's laid out there. So before you can pass it in September, it has to be made public for 30 days at minimum. And then you hold a hearing in September just before you pass it. So we do at the August meeting, the board passes the tentative budget appropriation. It gets posted. We used to have to actually publish it in a newspaper, which, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have to do anymore.
Karen,
You're muted.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Not used to talking in a board meeting. You do have to post it on the website, so it will be posted for the public.
Right. So it gets posted on the website. Yeah, the newspaper used to charge us a lot of money to post it. It was, hundreds of dollars to post the budget appropriation ordinance every year. But the state legislature gave us some relief from that unfunded mandate and allowed us to publish it on the website. So we do that. We have to pass it by 30 days before, more than 30 days before the September meeting.
So, Roxanne, the distinction between the working budget and the budget and appropriation, just
give you a little
yeah, give us a high level
level. I could send you back to Heather because she's so good at doing this nice and clear. But basically, we take the working budget and we add a percentage to it in the different categories to give us a little bit of room in case we do run into a situation where we need to spend more. Any of that extra spending would happen only with board approval, anything that's going over the working budget amount. But the reason you want to appropriate more is that if you get additional revenues that you weren't expecting and you haven't appropriated them, then you can't spend them.
Go figure.
So, so we want to make sure we're budgeting for what we might possibly get, what we'd really like to get, and assuming, knowing that we're probably not going to get that.
But so the working budget is really for day-to-day operations. That's the document that you use.
Right.
Okay.
But that document, the working budget doesn't get filed anywhere. It's only internal. The appropriation, the budget and appropriation is what actually goes to the county, gets filed with the county clerk. That is our legal budget.
Right. Okay.
And it's
Thanks.
based on the working budget, but it's not the same as.
Anything else? Any other questions for Roxanne or Heather on any of that related? Okay, hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please, Chris?
Matt,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Chris, yes. Christina,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
7 ayes.
Okay, motion passes. Exhibit C4, North Suburban Digital Consortium Overdrive Contract Renewal. May I have a motion to authorize the director to renew the contract with the North Suburban Digital Consortium for annual collection assessment to purchase additional content and hosting at a cost not to exceed $25,000. Long motion, but may have a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Chris move, second please.
Second.
Is that Mary Ann?
No.
That was Christina.
No.
Christina, okay. Overdrive. Those of us that like to read electronic books know about Overdrive. Greatest thing going. Roxanne or Heather, is there anything you'd like to explain about anything new with Overdrive, or is it just the annual renewal?
Yeah, Heather, jump in if you've got anything. This is a little bigger than what we have historically done in ebooks, but there was a lot of interest in ebooks, of course, during COVID. So we're seeing a lot more usage of it, and we're betting this is less than we spent this year, but we're betting that there is still going to be some continued increased usage over 2 years ago.
Oh, I think so. I think COVID has really increased it, and I think we're going to see continuing interest in Overdrive. It's a great way to download an ebook, just very easy to use and very good. Anyone have any questions?
I know I taught a few colleagues how to use Overdrive for the public library over COVID, and they were just amazed and will continue using it. So I'm sure they weren't the only one,
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Chris, could we have a roll call vote, please? Chris, you're muted.
Matt,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Chris, yes. Christina,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
7 ayes.
Motion is carried. Exhibit C5, Electronic Resource LinkedIn Learning Contract. May I have a motion to authorize the director to contract with LinkedIn Learning, an electronic resource for online learning at a cost of $13,125. May I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Dave, second, please.
Second, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, second. Okay, Roxanne, Heather, can you explain what this is all about?
It's a renewal of our database, LinkedIn Learning. It's one of our most popular databases, I would say.
Lots of classes. Jason is on. Jason, you're here. Do you have any anything you want to add about LinkedIn Learning?
Sure. Just for context, LinkedIn Learning is actually better known as lynda.com. That's how we acquired the database. And it was just within the last 2 years acquired by LinkedIn, the online platform. And that brought about a name change and some changes to the interface. But it's quite popular, used by many patrons.
Does one need to have a LinkedIn account to use this?
That is a very timely question, Richard. When LinkedIn acquired lynda.com, they actually had many more requirements than most libraries were accustomed to for online databases, and that was one of them. And they've subsequently changed that, largely due to the outcry of public libraries who felt that that was an unnecessary and really unfair standard for library patrons.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions, comments on this? Okay, hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Matt,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes,
Chris, yes, Christina,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes,
7 ayes.
motion passes. Okay, well, that concludes the business for this evening.
Richard, may I just add something, please?
Yes, please.
I think, I'm not sure, unless I fell asleep, I don't think we brought up the parade. Other than, and Kirsten, you need to be thanked for all the hard work you did. It went off like a piece of cake, and not only did we have a beautiful day, but it was so well orchestrated. You did a great job. The signs were great. We had a great turnout. I just want to thank you for what you did.
It was my pleasure, and I was just absolutely thrilled to be back out into the community and waving to all the patrons. It was a beautiful day, and we had great turnout, so I was really happy that we were there just to, you know, put us in front of all the community again. And I'd like to also thank you and Mary Ann for joining us. So hope you had a great time too.
yeah.
And as long as we're saying thank you, Kirsten, you need to know that with all of the screenings we had so many compliments on our brochure as we were interviewing people. And I'm quite sure that that's why we got so many good candidates, because they all commented about how professional it was and how inviting it was to our community. So kudos to you for that as well.
Thank you, and thank you for your direction on that too.
Yeah. Also, Chris and Mary Ann, thanks for representing our board so well.
Oh,
It was fun.
yeah, it was.
Sorry I missed it.
Okay, Chris, thank you for bringing that up. It well-deserved compliments, and I know the library is always a favorite in our parades. Okay, any other comments from anyone about anything before we sign off?
Richard, I think we wanted to make a comment about coming back to in-person meetings.
Okay, it looks like the governor's executive order that originally kicked off our ability to meet virtually will expire sometime before the end of this month. So I would imagine that going forward, we will be meeting in person. So I think every trustee should prepare for that, starting with, well, in addition to the interviews later this week, but going forward with our monthly meetings, we should plan on being in person. We'll have the room set up so everyone will be socially distanced. You know, everything will be done in accordance with the best guidelines. If anyone feel better about wearing a mask, feel free to do so. You know, it's not going to be required, but if you feel comfortable, please do. The important thing is we get back together and have these meetings the way they were always intended to be. And that's in person, having face-to-face conversations and dealing with library matters in a transparent way out in the public. And I'm looking forward to it, I tell you.
Me too.
So plan on the August 3rd meeting being in person.
Okay.
Okay, anything you'd like to add to that, Roxanne?
No, that's it.
Okay, any other comments before we sign off? Again, congratulations, Tara. Welcome to the board.
Yes, welcome, Tara.
And we look forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you, Tara.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Move we adjourn.
Dave, the motion, second, please.
I'll second, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please, on adjournment?
Matt,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Chris, yes, Christina,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
7 ayes.
Okay, we are now adjourned at 8:20 p.m. Thank you, everyone.